Welcome to Kung Fu Havoc number 2. I'm about to go live on Instagram. Well, that's a nice Kung Fu chick. Let me go ahead and save that to my collection. She's not my crush, but it is what it is. I'm sure my crush is going to post something later. We'll check her out later. So let's do this. Alright, so this video is specifically dedicated to my friend at the Daily Kimura. How are you doing? Alright. We're going to talk about some supernatural shit now. She wanted me to make the video in the daytime so that she wouldn't be scared. So I'm going to tell you a true story. Whether you choose to believe it or not, it's on you. The one thing I am is an honest man, and I have no reason to lie to you. It's not going to gain me any more followers. If anything, it'll make me lose followers. So let's talk supernatural stuff. Alright. Being partially Native American, there are some things that are more spiritual than other cultures, alright? So for those who don't know, Native Americans are biologically Asian, and every person on the planet, whether you're white, black, or Native American, or Asian, or whatever, there's always a medicine man, a witch doctor, and a psychic, and a medium, etc. So when I was younger, I'm going to also leave out names so not to involve family members or embarrass family members, because that's just who I am. I don't put other people's names into my business, and I don't put their business, that's my business, out here in the open. So, and I wanted to make this because Daily Kimura, she may pop on, she may not. Alright, so here we go. When I was but a boy, 7 years old, had a lot going on. Started learning martial arts, started getting really good at fighting, those kind of things. Touch and go can be proud, but there was one thing that I could not fight, which was supernatural forces. Now, by supernatural forces, I'm talking about spirits. Spirits, for the longest time, I did not know that you could touch them back. They can touch you, and they don't know that some of us are gifted enough to touch them back, which is where this story is going to end. Alright, so I had an uncle who had a wife who was plagued by the witch rider. Now, not my uncle's wife, but my uncle. He's still alive today, and it's kind of all his fault. I guess you could say it's more my fault than his fault, because I guess I lifted the curse off of him and wound up putting it on myself. And I call it a curse because from the age of 7 to the age of 15, this entity, this thing, this witch rider, which science passing off as sleep paralysis. Alright, let me go into sleep paralysis before I go back into the story. The term sleep paralysis is a scientific term that I like to coin the phrase bullshit. Excuse me. Bullshit. Here's the thing. Anything involving paralysis, 9 times out of 10, paralysis is permanent. Ask any of your friends in wheelchairs, and they'll be sure to tell you that you don't recover from paralysis. So sleep paralysis, if you want to chalk that up into the scientific bullshit, go ahead, you can have that. I'm never going to call it sleep paralysis. I'm going to call it what it is. Because also people try to say that there's this thing called blood paralysis. Okay, blood paralysis is definitely bullshit. There's the thing, alright. If your heart stops beating at any point in time, you are either dying or you're fucking dead. Alright? So, blood paralysis is also something science is trying to chalk out for that witch rider crap. But your blood is not ever going to stop flowing until you are dead. So, blood paralysis, bullshit, is not the witch rider. Sleep paralysis is not the witch rider. That is the scientific way of them telling you that it's all in your head. Well, I don't care what the scientists say. When something is sitting on your chest and choking the fucking shit out of you, it is not sleep fucking paralysis, because the science left off the fact that it's choking the shit out of you. So, now let's get back to the story. So, 7 years old. And I woke up one morning, and being a nosy ass kid, I happened to have spent the night at my grandma's house, where that uncle particularly was living at the time. Him and his newly wed wife. So, somewhere in there, They might not have been newlyweds. They might have been married for a long time. I know I was 7. So, time is funny when you're a kid. Time gets funny when you're an adult. But anyway, time gets funny at boot camp. Time just funny. So, as a kid, kids tend to always want to be an adult business when they shouldn't be. This is one of the one times I could be an adult, business and not get the shit slapped out of me, because it was at the breakfast table. And Grandma was cooking her scrambled eggs and bacon for everybody. And, I came down and sat at the table, and Grandma was talking, and my uncle was talking about this thing that kept riding him for like a couple of weeks. Now, prior to this never happened to me prior to this incident. And this incident was the be-all of all bad makes. So, this was a bad beat gone left big time. And this was not just a drum. This wasn't a snare drum. This was like this Japanese drums. It was like that. That's how big this clusterfuck was about to become. So, Uncle's talking about how he kept on trying to reach for his wife, trying to get help, trying to reach, but he couldn't move his arms. He said he was screaming at the top of his lungs, but nobody could hear him but him. This is the Witch Rider, just in case you're just tuning in. This is the Witch Rider, choking the shit out of him. So he's talking like this because something's sitting on his chest and it's choking the fucking shit out of him. So you get the point. And the only person that can hear him scream is him. He's trying to reach for his wife. He can't. He can't move, period. Which the doctors are coning sleep paralysis, which I'm coning bullshit. Anyway, so I'm a little kid at the table, giggling. Uncle looks across the table and says, "Son, this shit is not funny. This shit could happen to you." Here I am, giggling. So, before you go any further, I'll say what you're thinking. That I imagined this shit because karma's a thing, and I laughed this thing into existence. Well, if you want to believe that, that's fine. But I'm going to tell you the truth. You don't bring things into existence because you're not the Great Spirit and you're not Jesus Christ. So since you're not God, you bringing something into existence is one of the things that can be chalked up into next to the impossible list. I'm not going to say it can't happen. And if you can do that, then you probably should tell the government how the next couple of years of the world is going to work out, because you can bring shit into existence. That also would make you Mirage from the New Mutants. Yeah, Danielle Moonstar. We're irrelevant to this, but anyway. So I got to giggling, and my uncle got really pissed off because he's got a 7-year-old kid laughing at him. He can't whoop my ass because it was funny. It was funny to me. It wasn't funny to him because he was the victim, but it was funny to me. Now, he had said this thing had been plaguing him for quite some time. Here's my little 7-year-old ass. Here's Grandma. Shut up, boy. Here's your damn food. So I eat the food. Still giggling. Trying not to choke on the drink. Uncle's just mad as hell. He's like, "You dilly sis, whatever this is, it's ruining my night at sleep." He has bags under his eyes. He's not sleeping very well. And this uncle, by the way, has never done drugs. Might drink a little alcohol, but he wasn't drunk that night. So, next night, I spend the night at Grandma's house. That happens to me. Happens to my uncle again. Comes to the breakfast table. I'm laughing my ass off. Eat my food. Then Grandma drags my ass off to church. So we go to church. The only thing I think about at church is just how bad is this thing attacking my uncle. And I'm fracking rolling my ass off. It's not funny. It's not cool in the least. But it's funny to me. And I'm just giggling and giggling and giggling and trying not to fall asleep in church. Because when I fell asleep in church, these things was delivered. First class. Ass whooping. So, moving on. I don't stay at my grandma's house. It's Sunday night now. I'm at home. Going to bed. I think chips went on, came on, went off. One of the TV shows went off, and I was going to bed. So I'm in the bed, and I'm sleeping my ass off. And my uncle lives across town. So he's not going to come to my house, and my mom's damn sure not going to let him come up in the bedroom and choke the shit out of me. because that's just not what it was. And there was only 2 of us at the time, and I believe we were still living at 820A Hardy Drive. So I'm sleeping my ass off. I could hear footsteps. So I set my head up. I'm looking, because of this really huge bed for a kid. And I'm looking around. I don't see anything. The hallway had a little... We left the bathroom light on because I was a tiny bit afraid of the dark. So the bathroom light stayed on. And you could see things in your room until you couldn't. And as a kid, you know, we always think we're safe, so we put our heads under the cover. So I look around, put my head back under the cover, go back to sleep. So that night, the cover came from off my head. And I'm looking around, and I can't see anything. It's pitch black. Some asshole cut off the bathroom light, by the way. I don't know who that was. And I'm looking around, and then I can't move. Something has gotten on the bed. I felt it get on the bed, and it's like, it's on the bed. I'm laying on the bed. I can't move. I can't feel anything, but I'm looking around. And it's like, before it even got on me, I couldn't move. So that there was just straight fear. And I'm like, oh shit, I can't move. Something's on my bed. Something's on my bed. I'm scared. Something's on my bed. And in a flash, that shit was on top of me. Grabbed me. Was choking the shit out of me. I'm on my back. I can't move. I'm sitting just like this. And I cannot fucking move. So this thing, the Witch Rider, has found its new victim. It's choking the shit out of me. I'm hollering. I'm screaming. I don't share a room with anybody. I'm by myself. And I mean, I'm yelling at the top of my lungs. Nothing. Choking, drooling, all that shit. And for a good 10 minutes, this goes on. And I have to go to school the next day. So, when it's over, I wake up. Mama! Mom runs in the room. What? Something was in here. Something attacked me. Boy, shut the hell up. Went back to her room. Hour or so later, time to get up and go to school. So I go to school and think about it all day. Then once you get to school, when everything else starts to go on, you tend to forget shit. Go to bed the next night, nothing happens. Go to bed the next night, nothing happens. Go to bed the next night, now it's like Wednesday. Nothing's happening. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe somebody's playing a joke. No, and think about it. Come Friday night, it's on me again. It seemed to only attack me mostly during the weekends. And mostly between Fridays and Sundays. So that happened for 7, age 8, age 9, when we moved from 820A Hardy Drive to 811E Hardy Drive, which is like diagonally across the street and next to a trash dumpster. It happened again and again and again. So I started asking people about it. So people would tell me, okay, but if you sleep on your side, it can't get you. Bullshit. So I tried sleeping on my side, but I always put my back to the wall so that it couldn't get me from behind. It would have to face me. No, that didn't do me any good, because I'm sleeping on my side and it's on me, but it's sitting on my ribs and shit, and I can't move. It's also sitting on my arm. My arm is bent down, and this arm's bent down because I'm on it, so it's choking me again and again. And then the attacks would vary. There would be some months where that bitch would attack me for 3 or 4 days straight. And then there would be some months where it would attack me maybe once a month. And it's like, okay, I think I'm just going to swing by James' house and fuck with him. And it's funny. It never attacked me on weekends that I stayed with my uncle that does smoke weed. So it never attacked me at his house. It never, ever attacked me at his house. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. It never attacked me there. It never attacked me at my other uncle who was in the Navy. It never attacked me at his house. It was certain places this sumbitch just did not go. But whenever I was at home or anywhere that felt like home, it would attack me. And this happens until I'm 15 years old. So, jumping ahead to 13. I'm 13 now, and I'm laughing about this shit, and I'm thinking about this shit, and I've asked everybody who's ever had some kind of spiritual something or another happen. Even went back to talking to my grandmother after my Uncle Doc had fell asleep on top of his gun, and wound up dying from the hair trigger shooting him, and then he had to go to the hospital, and the hospital got the bullet out, but he died from infection. So, hope you like scary stuff for you who have just clocked in on Instagram. So, my grandma had also, being Native American, let some spiritual stuff into her own house, not knowing. So that same uncle that this happened, one night she let something come in, and that uncle, who had now been divorced, was sleeping on the couch. It used to be at the top of the hill. There was a house. That house did burn down eventually, but they tried everything they could to save it. But it was meant for that house to go because it went. I'll get on that in a minute. Right now, this is so that house would become fucking top 100, which was like another Blockbuster type video store, which is irrelevant. But that's what the house would come after it burnt down, and we'll go back to that because this thing came in to visit my uncle, and my grandmother let it in, and she went down the hall for roughly 2 minutes, and the thing disappeared. It never went out the door. It just stayed in the house. It never disappeared. She never let it back out. The person spoke to her and told her that she knew, or it knew, my uncle. So she let him in. It stood over my uncle for a while. And then when my grandmother came back down the hall, because she was married to Mr. Ford at the time, I think. She's married to some damn body. Anyway, when she came back down the hall, it was gone. My uncle was still there, perfectly healthy, nothing wrong with him at all. And so, not too long after that, the damn thing never attacked me there. But I did have a different experience because my Uncle Doc had passed, and one night I was happening, again, not relevant to this story. My Uncle Doc had passed. My grandfather had been gone for 2 years or 3 years prior to that, because my grandfather died when I was 6. My Uncle Doc died when I was like 9. So, somewhere in between there. He might have died when I was 8. But either way, it was a rainy night when the shadows on the door would be there. And I would keep hearing knocking on the door. And I was in the living room by myself. And there was no TV in the living room. The TV was in the den. I went to the living room because somebody did something. I got pissed off. So I went to go sit in there. And the lightning would strike and the door would knock. And the two shadows would be at the door. And I would go open the door. There wouldn't be anything there. But when I closed the door, the shadows were still there. I opened the door, the shadows were gone. I closed the door, the shadows were there. And I was like, okay, let me go get my grandma. So I closed the door and ran to get grandma. And when she got back in there, the shadows were gone. So we don't know if the house was haunted or not. But that house does eventually burn completely to the ground. The fire trucks tried to save it, everything. My uncle, who was also in the Navy, where the one that smokes weed, the things never attacked us. He walked through the door because something attacked him in that house. So, yeah. We don't want to just chalk that up to us having Native American blood, but a lot of spiritual shit has happened to my family. Now, we're going back to the witch runner. We're going back to the present time of me being 13. By the time I was 13, this thing have attacked me over 100 times. And I have talked to everybody and their mothers, anybody who's had any kind of ghost experience or whatever. So, when I was younger, it was, if you sleep on your right side or your left side, by the time I got 13, it's like, if you sleep anywhere other than on your back, this thing can't get you. Bullshit. If a spirit wants you, it will get you. Alright? Outside of the theory of spirits not being able to go across running water, this sumbitch was on my ass all the time. So now I'm 15 years old. This is the last part of this story. So I'm 15 years old, and I go visit my father. And I hadn't been attacked in like maybe 5 months. So I figured that, maybe the shit's over, And my dad had got attacked about a week and a half before I got attacked. And my dad was in his 30s, and I'm 15. And my dad was sleeping with the light on. It's like, Dad, why you sleep with the lights on? He said, because I don't want whatever the fuck that shit is that got me to get me again. But this time, the light gonna be on, so it can't get me. Which also goes back to people was telling me, well, if you sleep with the lights on, it can't get you. And I was like, man, I don't pay the electric bill. My mom's not going to let me sleep with the fucking light on. I just got to deal with it. So I never slept with the light on until the day I got attacked. Now, I got attacked in the morning hours. So let me get to the gist of it. My dad had got attacked, like I said, a week and some change before I got attacked. And I laughed about it for like pretty much that whole entire time. Because, you know, grown-ass man, scared of the dark. I'm picking big time on my dad. I mean, anything that I could find, I'm picking on him. Because a few years back when Ghostbusters had came out, I kept saying I wasn't afraid of no ghost. His grandmother, my great-grandmother, full-blooded Cherokee, had died. And I laughed about that shit, about like being not afraid of ghosts. And he and I went to sleep one night, and I got scared as hell. And no, it wasn't the Witch Rider. It was just my childish imagination screaming daddy. After that, every time, I ain't afraid of no ghosts. Daddy! That was the personal joke between my family and I. Because that whole day when Ghostbusters came out, I knew all the words to Ray Parker Jr.'s Ghostbusters theme song. And somewhere in there it is, I ain't afraid of no ghost. And I was saying that shit the whole day. And we went to actually go see Ghostbusters that night. So when I screamed daddy, we all knew that James was afraid of ghosts. Because we went to Newport News to go see it. Maybe it was Hampton. I always get them places mixed up because they're right smack dead in the same damn area. Either Hampton's like the subdivision of Newport News, or Newport News is the subdivision of Hampton. I don't really know how that shit works. It's the same thing as Charlottesville and Albemarle. Okay? So, you know, you live in the city of Charlottesville, but it's in the county of Albemarle. Which is why the county cops have jurisdiction in the city as well as the county, where the city cops only have jurisdiction in the city. You guys get the gist. Anyway, so I laughed at my dad, and I figured that, you know, he'll get over it. Which I thought for sure that he would have. And he did. So now it comes the day that I'm going to be attacked. This is the guts and glory of this whole fucking story. So my dad has to go to work at 6 o'clock. So he gets up at 5 o'clock, does his manly duties. Come 5:30, he's on the way out the door. Now my dad is a very penny pinching motherfucker. So, because it's more important to have gas in your car for when you need the car, and food on your plate, and a shirt on your back, versus drive your car every day to work when work is in walking distance. So my dad never drove the car to work. He always rode his 10-speed. So since he always rode his 10-speed, he made sure that I got up, and we had these old-timey locks because he lived in this fucking old-ass apartment. I mean, it's a house, but it was an apartment because somebody owned it. They rented upstairs and downstairs. We had a big, zofted lady named Ada, ironically, who has the same name as my great-grandmother. She lived above us, and she was a big girl. Not just in height, but in width. Sorry if that's offensive. So, Ada, I guess she worked whenever the hell she worked. I never seen her leave. I never seen her come. Eventually, she did wind up moving. So I don't know who was living up above us. I don't think anybody was living there. I don't really know. My dad's not allowed to ask. But anyway. So, 5:30 in the morning, Dad's going out the door. Jimmy, lock all the doors, put the deadbolts on, do all this shit. So he wakes me up to make sure we do the 5-point check. We go to the back. We click that old-timey ass lock, because the lock is like, it's a block with the doorknob in the middle, and you have to have an old key to lock it. And you can lock it from the inside, but you can't really lock it from the outside without the key. So you can flip the thing and then twist the lock. It's like a double hatch. I don't know. It's a very old fucking house. So anyway, we do that. My dad had plastic the whole windows and nailed the windows shut. So when the air conditioner would blow, it could clear the whole house. And he had the house set up like the Batman cave and shit. So he had garbage bags all around the porch and everything. So I lock him out. I literally walk with him outside. Hook the screen door. Go back inside. Lock the big bolt on the front door, plus the deadbolt, plus the chain. Now he has no way of getting in this house. And it's like 5:45. So I lay back down. I ain't thinking about nothing other than going back to sleep. And I'm sleeping on my side. So about maybe 6:15. I think either Robotech or Voltron or Bionic 6 was coming on. I can't remember. But I know I put the TV on that channel and I turned the volume way up so that when it comes on, I would wake up. Well, it came on. I didn't wake up. I woke up to being choked. Now my head's under the cover, and this witch rider's got me down pat, and I'm sleeping on my side, and I'm in a big bed with a big blanket. So I'm like, uh-oh. Now, honestly, my first impression was, how the fuck did my dad get back in the house? There's 2 doors. I locked them both. There's no way he could get in the screen door, plus the front door, and come in. There's no way he can get to the back door because we also locked the screen door on that. So, I mean, child safety was an issue because people at the time were kidnapping kids in white vans in Smithfield. So, therefore, Jimmy, you're going to lock the doors, period. And then I'm going to go to work. Lock me out. I'll call you if I need you. And we didn't have cell phones. We had those rotary phones, and it was an orange one, and it was in his room. Phone never rung, and I was sleeping my ass off. Right up until the time this thing choked me. So first I thought it was my dad. Again, I just said that. And I'm like, and it's really pushing me down. And my head's like in the bed, but hanging off the corner of the bed. So it's choking me, and my head's hanging down. So I'm getting like a double pressure. It's like I'm kind of getting squeezed by the mattress as well as this damn thing. And I'm on my side. So it's straddled me like this. And it's pushing me down. And I'm like, okay, Dad, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to laugh at you. I'm really sorry. You can get off me now. The more I apologized, the tighter the grip got. Somewhere along the line, it dawned on me, this is not my fucking father. Because I was thinking to myself the whole time, how did he get in the fucking house? I locked him out. The only person that should be in this house is me. And at this time, it's choking me, it's choking me, it's choking me. My body can't move. It's on me. I can feel it as both of its legs are on me. And I'm like, I'm struggling to get up, and I can't move. And the last thing I saw before I went to bed that night, thank you, Tom Selleck. Thank you, Thomas Magnum, because that was the last thing I saw. And Magnum was stranded in the water, and he made the shark disappear with magic. Now, also that night, for somehow or another, whichever Lethal Weapon was on, where dude was stuck on the toilet. So thank you, Danny Glover and Mel Gibson as well. Because I think that came on first. I think that might have been like the Friday night movie or the Saturday night movie. Might have been a Thursday night because it was Friday morning. Because my dad had to go to work. He didn't work on Saturdays. But it was the last day of the week. So this damn thing upped its game. And I'm sitting there and I'm getting choked. And I'm trying to figure out what the fuck to do. Because I can't move. And I've apologized like 90 times. And my dad ain't letting up. So it's definitely not my dad. So I said, okay. Last night, Magnum P.I. counted to 5 and made this damn thing disappear. Maybe he counted to 3. I don't remember. I'm going to have to Google that episode of the original Magnum P.I. But I do know that in Lethal Weapon, he counted to 3, skipping 2, and pulled the dude off the toilet, and the toilet exploded. So I kind of combined those. I said, I'm going to count to 3, and I'm going to make this motherfucker disappear. But what I said out loud was, I'm going to count to 3, and then I'm going to fuck you up. So, at 15, I was a cusser. I'm still a cusser. This thing's choking me. And I said, this motherfucker ain't never gonna hear 2. 1, 3! And I rolled over, and me and this thing is under this blanket, and we're fighting. We're scuffling. I'm trying to grab it. So, this is where I tell you something that spirits don't know. You see all these scary movies and things, and spirits aren't aware that we can touch them. I wasn't aware that we can touch them until that day. So on that day, I'm scuffling. I'm scuffling like a motherfucker to grab this son of a bitch. And me and this witch rider, we rumbling. I got a little bit of hold of it because I have something in this blanket, but it's not human because there's no other human in the fucking house. And we're fighting. And I'm struggling trying to find my way through the blanket to get it. But I still have it wrapped up in the blanket while I'm still in the blanket. So it's kind of like Like, this thing's tied up. This is me on this end. This thing's over here. So you can see me, because my body's more out of the blanket than in the blanket. This thing's wrapped in the blanket. I'm trying to get over here so I can wrap this son of a bitch in the blanket. Somehow or another, when I get most of myself out, it's gone too. I had a grip on one part of its body. I do not know what part of its body it was, but I had a grip on this scary bastard. And I said, before I die, I'm going to prove that this motherfucker exists. It has not been back after me since saying that. Because I touched it. And I said I touched it. You know, after it got out, I touched it. The phone rang. So I had to get out my room. I run all the way down the hall. Go into my dad's room. Answer the phone. Tells me he's on his way back. And I was like, okay. And I hung up. Now I'm still in shock because I touched it. So I was like, okay. Something really fucked up going on around here. So I go back down the hall. I'm looking around in my room. And I'm hollering. I can touch you. I can touch you. Which means if I can touch you, I can prove that you exist. Which means if I can touch you, I can find you. If I can find you, I can grab you. And if I can grab you, I can show you to the world. And I can prove that you exist. I'm going to find you. I'm going to get you. If it's the last thing I do before I die, I'm going to prove that the Witch Rider exists. And so this thing had been after me for years. It has not dawned its ugly head around me since I was 15. Now, I'm telling you that it's some really crazy shit in the spiritual realm, and you don't have to believe my story. But I will tell you this. I have told a variation of this story because I have concussions, so my memory doesn't always click it back to the way I remember it. But I will tell you that that damn thing ain't been back. I'm still waiting for it. I think I may have had a close call the other night, like when my nephew passed, but I was looking for it, and I've been waiting for it, and I'm still waiting for it. I sleep very well knowing that I can touch this thing. So if you can touch it, then you can get it. And I think that's probably why it hasn't been back, because I actually touched this son of a bitch, and I'm going to catch it. So no, this is not for more followers or anything. If you believe in the supernatural, then you should know this now. Spirits can touch us. There's no physical reason why we can't touch them. I used to believe that we couldn't touch them until that last scramble with the Witch Rider, which is why I started calling myself the King of the Impossibles. Not because I'm a Flash Gordon fan. It's just because of the simple fact that I touched something that no one else in my family has been able to touch. And it hasn't bothered me since. And every night that I say a prayer, I was like, if I can just get a hold of this son of a bitch, I'm going to prove it to the world that the Witch Rider is, one, not blood paralysis, two, not sleep paralysis, but that the son of a bitch does exist. There's a lot more of the supernatural shit out here that we don't know about, you know, and nobody wants us to know. I'm stopping Kung Fu Havoc number 2 because I'm doing a part 2. So if you're still here on Instagram, enjoy the show.